So Aether Spike, one generic and a blue instant. Choose target spell. You get 2 energy counter, and you may pay any amount of energy counter that spell unless its controller pays 1 for each energy paid this way. So the floor is Quench. If you have any other incidental energy, it might be like Mana Leak. If you're lucky, it's like 2 mana Force Spike, and you get like a little bit of energy. You get like 1 energy like afterwards to like do stuff with. I don't know. I'm gonna say if the floor is Quench, I'm not really happy about it. It's like C minus. But if you have like a lot of energy generation, it could go up to like a C. It'll be probably good against. One thing that could make this card better is if people are tapping out for like huge Eldrazi, sacking like a bunch of resources to play their Eldrazi, then it feel good. But I mean, again, that's dependent on the format. What happens? Alright, Amphibian Downpour, 2 generic, and a blue enchantment aura Flash Storm. When you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast before this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies. Copies become tokens. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a blue frog creature of base power. 1/1. I'm just gonna rate it as a C because um if you're only making like 1 enchantment off of it, it's not going to be very exciting. Like I know the storm mean like the ideal scenario is you combo this card with a bunch of spells of your own or your opponent's started like maybe your opponent played a bunch of spells pre-combat and then went to attacks. And then you play Amphibian Downpour, you blow them out, but they've had this card before. They had this card in like Wilds of Eldraine, the curse it, the thing that put curses on all your opponent's creatures, and that card was like not actually very good, despite like the dream scenarios that sometimes that card could enable. But I had this as like a C. Alright, Bestowed Battle Wagon, 3 generic and a blue artifact vehicle. Tap. You get 2 energy counters. Tap, pay 2 energy, tap target creature. Tap, pay 3 energy, draw a card. Pay 4 energy, Bespoke Battle Wagon becomes an artifact creature on the end of the turn. Crew 4, it's a 5/6. So it's like kinda understated from like the crew cost. Like you don't really want to like pay 4 to make a 5/6. You're basically just paying for them because you want the energy counters from it. Um or you want like the payoffs, which is like tapping a creature or drawing a card. So I don't know. I'm gonna rate this as like a C minus. I think the rate is a little too high, but I mean it is flexible. There's probably some decks where there's gonna be like a C because it's actually doing a lot of things they want to do in there, but it seems like a little overcosted for me. Alright, Brain Surge, 2 and a blue instant. Draw 4 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. Um, so this is basically a throwback to like Brainstorm, which was like a 1 blue instant, draw 3 cards, and then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. Um, there are common fetch lands in this set because of the landscapes. So you can like put bad cards. You can cast this, draw like 4 cards, and then put like 2 bad cards on top of your deck and then shuffle them away. Makes it a little better. This also triggers your draw 3 payoffs because there's some cards that care if you drew like 3 cards in a turn. So I would play it's like a C plus, assuming you have the fetch lands and or like the draw 3 cards in the turn payoff stuff. I think it's a lot of mana otherwise. All right. Consign the memory a blue instant replicate 1. When you cast a spell, copy it for each time you pay this replicate cost. You may choose new targets for copy. Counter target triggered the ability to recall this spell. So this is basically a anti-Eldrazi spell. You can counter their Eldrazi that has a cast trigger and the cast trigger itself. But this is basically sideboard material. Don't play it in your main deck. Alright, Copy Crook, 2 generic and 2 blue, creature shapeshifter rogue. You may have Copy Crook enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except that it has, whenever this creature attacks, it connives. Draw a card, then discard a card. If you discarded a non-land card, put the +1/+1 counter on this creature. The fact that it can copy any creature is nice, but I mean, I don't know, 4-mana clone. It's just dependent on like what's on the battlefield, right? Like sometimes there's just nothing good to like copy. But sometimes there's like amazing things to copy. So I put this as a C. Because again, like 4-mana clone can sometimes be has like a pretty wide variant. So this card, Corrupted Shapeshifter, 3 generic and a blue, creature Eldrazi Shapeshifter, devoid. This card has no color. So this is like the first card we've talked about today that has devoid. Even though it has like a mana cost its ability, it's actually considered colorless. It says, as Corrupted Shapeshifter entered the battlefield, it becomes your choice of a 3/3 creature with flying, a 2/5 creature with vigilant, or a 0/12 creature with defense. I put this at a D+, because I don't, like, the only mode on this that's, like, reasonable is, like, the 3/3 flying, and we've gone to a point where, like, a 3/3 flying creature for, like, 4 is, like, not very good without any other abilities. I guess it has, like, a little bit of flexibility. Sometimes you do want the 2/5, but I don't know. I think mostly the reason this card exists is because the throwback to Primal Clay. But Primal Clay is definitely not like playable by any like by any standard nowadays. Not playable by any standard. Alright, Deem Inferior, 3 generic and a blue sorcery. The spell costs 1 generic less to cast for each card you've drawn this turn. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it into their library second from the top or on the bottom. So this is a draw 3 or draw multiple cards type payoff thing. It's a sorcery, so at the very minimum it's going to cost like 3 or whatever. Because you have drawn a card during your draw step. It can hit any permanent, and it does, like, it puts it second from the top, so it's similar to like that card from March of the Machines that put it from second from the top or on the bottom. So I mean, it's not bad. Probably just gonna play out very similarly to that card. I had it like a C or something there. This is fine, you know, like time ebb plus because it's, again, it's second from the top. Or they could put it on the bottom, but most of the time when they put it on the bottom, you're usually happy. Alright, Depth Defiler, 3 generic and 2 blue, creature Eldrazi, devoid, kicker, 1 colorless. When you cast a spell, choose 1. If it was kicked, choose both instead. Now this card is like really, I think is really strong. Because yeah, it's like you'd usually be happy with like either of these modes, but if you can kick it and you get both modes, super exciting. So I had it rated as like a B-, I think. Yeah, this is definitely a good card to play if you can kick it. Even if you can't kick it, it's not that bad. Dreamtide Whale, 2 generic and a blue, creature whale, vanishing 2. This creature enters on the battlefield with 2 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter from it. When the last is removed, sacrifice it. Whenever a player casts their second spell, each turn proliferate. So this counts both players. This doesn't have any evasion, and it's only it's only going to be able to attack once. before it dies to its own ability. So I had it rated as like a C minus. I don't know, like if you have other ways of like proliferating it, it gets better, or if you have like cheap spells to proliferate it, or your opponent has like cheap spells to proliferate it, then it gets better. Most of like the things that like energy, I guess, is like are things that would be a side benefit of like proliferating, or again, if you're playing white, black, or green cards with +1/+1 counters, those would also like benefit from proliferate. So I don't know. This is, I don't think this card is very good, but it has like some maybe like synergy, other things. All right, Electrozoa, 2 generic and a blue creature jellyfish, flash flying. When Electrozoa enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counter. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, tap Electrozoa unless you pay energy. Um, I'm just gonna assume most of the time when you play this card, you're just going to be playing it to like ambush your opponent's flyer and trade with it and get the energy from it. Like, cause yeah, it could attack a couple times. You're going to have to like spend energy to like do that. It is like 3 power. It'll probably get in a decent amount of damage if you're doing that, but I'm just not excited about it. So I had like a minus also, but I don't know. It could play out better than it looks. It doesn't look out. It just doesn't look very good to me. All right, Emerald's Messenger, 1 generic and a blue creature, Eldrazi Fairy Rogue, devoid. This card has no color, flying. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token with sacrifice this creature, add list. I mean, it's a 2/1 flyer at like the fail case. That's fine. Um, the drawing additional cards and getting spawns to like chump or ramp with, that's like cool. I had it rated a C plus. Alright, Flare of the Nile, 1 generic and 2 blue instant. You may sacrifice a non-token blue creature rather than pay the spell's mana cost, counter target spell. I just rated it as like a C. It's probably just gonna play out a lot like cancel most of the time, but there's probably gonna be some scenarios where you sack a blue creature to like stop something really big and then you feel really smart. But I don't know. I feel it's just gonna play like cancel. Alright, Harbinger of the Seas, 1 generic, 2 blue creature, Merfolk Wizard, non-basic lands or islands. Just please don't play this card unlimited. They put it to D minus. Like, I guess if you really need Grey Ogre, sure, but don't play it. Right, Hope Ender Coatl, 2 generic and a blue creature, Eldrazi Snake, devoid, flash. When you cast a spell, to counter target spell an opponent controls unless they pay 1 flying. I mean, this is definitely one of those cards that when your opponent gets got by it, they're just gonna be like thinking about it every time someone passes with like 3 mana open, one of its blue. Because I mean, like Vexing Gull isn't great, but this is like Vexing Gull with Eldrazi synergies, and sometimes you get them. So I had it as like a C plus. All right, Kozilek's Unsealing, 2 generic and a blue enchantment devoid. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 4, 5, or 6, create 2/0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens with sacrifice this creature, add colorless. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, draw 3 cards. So now this is like the card that would pay you off for playing those 7 mana cycler, the cycling cards that I mentioned, that we talked about earlier or whatever. So this is like your payoff for going to like into Eldrazi. So if you're like in the Eldrazi deck, this is gonna be like a C or whatever. But like on average, like most people should probably just avoid this card. So I put it down as like a D plus. But it does actually count any creature spell, not just To clarify, it's probably better than the Deepla because it does trigger off any creature spell, not just like colorless creature spells. But yeah, so I guess C or C minus or C like closer. Right, Petrifying Meddler. 4 and the blue creature Eldrazi devoid. When you cast a spell, tap up to one target creature and put a stun counter on it. So this is basically just giant frost links. In some cases it'll be worse because you can't play like a ton of 5-drop. It also has reach, by the way. It's like it's like the random like you look at all this text on it and it also just has like it says oh yeah reach. It's like a blue reach creature. But I don't know. It's noticed that. I had like a C. Royal Cartographer, 1 generic and a blue, creature Merfolk Rogue. Landfall, whenever your land enters the battlefield under your control, you get energy. Tap, pay 6 energy, draw 3 cards. It's an energy enabler and a payoff. It'll be like a C plus, like when you're wanting to have both of those things, like get energy or use the energy. Sage of the Unknowable, 1 generic and a blue, creature human wizard. Tap, add colorless. Spend this mana only to cast a colorless spell or activate an ability. There's actually not a lot of abilities that cost mana in this set. I mean, there's some, but like most of the abilities I've seen that like were like their activated abilities, oh, it actually costs energy. So it's like this is like you play it when you want to ramp your Eldrazi. It's also like an O4 blocker if you care about that. I don't know. I had this as like a like kind of like a D plus or some type of card. It's not super exciting. Right, Serum Visionary, 2 generic and a white. Sorry, 2 generic and a blue. Creature of a Vulcan Wizard. When Serum Visionary enters the battlefield, draw a card and scry 2. So this is like a throwback to like Ponder Mage, which was like a 5 mana 3/4 that had Ponder attached to it. This is a 3 mana 2/2 that has Serum attached to it. I mean, it's a C plus. I think you'll probably play like any number of these because you're just like, oh, it's a creature that cantrips and also has like a little bit of library manipulation. It would be much better if it was like preordained visionary. All right, Shadow of the Second Sun for 4 generic and 2 blue. Enchantment Aura, enchant player. At the beginning of Enchantment Player's post-combat main phase, there is an additional beginning phase after this phase. The end step happens after the added untap, upkeep, and draw steps. I think this is like a combo card for EDH. It's like, yes, you do get like an additional draw, and you do get an additional untap step or whatever, so like you could do combat stuff and then have your creatures untap after the combat, and then like if you want to leave up like counter spells. That's cool. So I had it as like a C minus. I don't know. It just feels very clunky to me, but maybe it'll be good in some decks. Alright, Strict Serenade, blue instance. Counter target artifact, creature, or planeswalker spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird creature token of form. So yeah, I rate it as a D. You shouldn't play this in limited because giving your opponent a bird creature token is just going to cause you a lot of issues later on. Like maybe if you're like really desperate, you can play it, but I would just like protect this. Meant for EDH. Alright, Tamio meets the story circle, 1 colorless and blue, enchantment saga. As a saga, oh wait, no, I already talked about sagas. So until your next turn, so first step is until your next turn, whenever a creature attacks you or planeswalker you control, gets -2/-0 until end of turn. It's kind of like Behold Unspeakable, but only if the creature attacks you or planeswalker you control. 2 is discard any number of cards, then investigate twice for each card discarded this way. And then 3, shuffle up to 3 target cards from your graveyard in your library. I don't really like this card. It feels a lot like a bad version of Bath Song, so I put it down as like a C minus. But I don't know. It probably could be more like a D plus, really. It just doesn't. I mean, I guess it's only 2 mana, but I like all that. Right? Tempest Harvester, one one generic and a blue creature Merfolk Wizard. When Tempest Harvester enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. A energy, draw a card, and discard a card. So this is like a better Merfolk looter, but you need to pay energy to keep looting. Um, I think it's probably like around like a C. I mean, it has a better body than Merfolk Looter because Merfolk Looter is a 1/1, but you do have to pay energy to do like it won't necessarily do like a ton of looting. But I mean, it is only 2 mana to like play it, so it's not bad. Alright, Trident Wavebreaker, blue, enchantment creature, Merfolk Wizard. The stew. I even forgot how to say it, but so as long as Trident Wavebreaker is a creature, it has prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 on its turn, and then enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has prowess. I put it as a C. I haven't seen, at least when I was doing the set review, I didn't see like I didn't see I don't think like blue red prowess was like super insanely supported. I guess like the bestow creatures like work with it because they're non-creature spells when you're playing them as like auras, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like some of these other sets where like prowess is like really enabled by like a lot of cheap cantrips and stuff. I don't know. I guess this is a cheap cantrip. Tune the narrative, instant draw card, you get energy. This is not quite a tune with Aether, but it'll probably be fine. Oh, I had the Trident Wavebreaker as a C. I would rate this probably as a C, or maybe a C plus, like in the deck that really wants the energy. I'll put it as a C plus. Because the deck where you really want it, you want just like cycle a card, gain 2 energy will be good there. Ugin's Binding, okay. It's 2 generic and a blue instant devoid. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. Whenever you cast a color spell with mana value 7 or greater, you may exile Ugin's Binding from your grave. When you do, return each non-land permanent you don't control to its owner. So if you can actually trigger the exile ability on this is like an A minus because it's basically Cyclonic Rift, which usually like wins you the game. It usually wins you the game. I mean, I guess one downside is that like a lot of the times you're not casting like instant 7 mana value colorless spells, not in this format from like a tell. Like most of the colorless spells that were like mana value 7 or greater, they're like enchantments or creatures or creatures like you'll have to do this on like your turn, which makes it a little less exciting, but you could still get like lethal, forcing your opponent to like replay all this stuff means you could still have good attacks next turn, better attacks. Yeah, if you're just playing it as the first ability, it goes way down. It goes down to like a C or something. Don't think it's very exciting. Alright, Unfathomable Truths. 4 and a blue instant devoid. Draw 3 cards and create a 0/1 color Eldrazi spawn creature token. Sacrifice this creature, add a colorless. This card doesn't look amazing. It is an instant, which is nice. It's like sort of like Enter the Fey Court. Enter the Fey Court with a sorcery, but it made a 1/1 flyer that couldn't block anything except creatures with flying. This makes a spawn. I mean, I think this will probably play similarly to that. So probably like a C plus because of that. And then other insignificance, 1 in a blue, enchantment aura, flash, enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and has base power and toughness 1/1. And then 2 generic and a colorless exile enchanted creature. So it's like Flash Frogify, but if you can pay the colorless, you can actually remove the creature from play. I had it like as a C because again, like these aura based like enchantment removal or creature removals can be like kind of bad, but if you can actually exile, like you pay the 3 minute exile, it's pretty cool. The neat thing that it does also removes all the abilities, so you might not necessarily be in a hurry to like get rid of the creature, but like it's usually a good idea to like get rid of the creature if you can, just because that way they can't like sack the creature or bounce it back to their hand. Yeah. Usually the problem of like these types of spells is like they don't let you get lethal that turn. Is like they can still chump block with a 1/1, assuming you're attacking with like a ground based creature or whatever. And also because it's an enchantment based thing, they could like return the creature back to their hand or sacrifice it. Right, Volatile Storm Drake, 1 in a blue, 1 generic in the blue. Creature Drake flying, hexproof from activated and triggered abilities. When Volatile Storm Drake enters the battlefield, exchange control of Volatile Storm Drake and target creature opponent control. If you do, you get 4 energy and then sacrifice that creature unless you pay an amount of energy equals its value. So it's basically like Gilded Drake, except you have to pay a bunch of energy to like actually keep the creature, and it also has hexproof from activated and triggered abilities. I'm assuming it's so you can't like bounce it back to your hand with like an ability and stuff. And it's like it's hard for me to like evaluate it because it's like you are giving them a 3/2. I guess if you steal something really good, like it'll make up for it. But then the thing is, you can't steal something very expensive unless you have other energy from other places. So like, if this is like your only energy generator, you can only steal a 4-drop of this, and you're also still giving them a 3/2. So I don't know. I had it rated as a C. I mean, you can also play it on turn 2, right? If they don't have any creatures, I guess if you just want a 3/2 flyer on 2, kind of cool. I think you're supposed to like try and do. But anyway,